Welcome to My Hussein. In today's video, we will be discussing the crucial role of the Imams in scientific progression. When we think of science, names like Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, and Thomas Edison often come to mind. But centuries before these renowned scholars, there were the 12 Imams of Islam, spiritual and intellectual leaders whose influence shaped not only theology but also the scientific and philosophical landscape of the world. Among them, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, the sixth Imam, stands out as a towering figure in both religious and scientific history. Born in 702 AD in the city of Medina, he lived during a time of immense political and intellectual transformation. Imam Ja'far was not only a spiritual guide, but also a teacher to thousands of students across disciplines, including some who would later become foundational figures in science. One of his most famous students was Jabir ibn Hayyan, known in the West as Jiba. Often regarded as the father of chemistry, Jabir credited Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq as his mentor and source of knowledge. Under his guidance, Jabir developed early theories of chemical processes such as distillation, crystallization, filtration, and evaporation. These methods are used today in everyday life, in producing clean drinking water, refining essential oils, processing pharmaceuticals, and even in cooking. Imam Ja'far also taught about the structure of matter, stating that everything is made of tiny indivisible particles, which we now call atoms. He spoke about how heat causes molecular motion and how changes in temperature lead to physical transformations in matter. Today, these principles form the basis of thermodynamics and are applied in everyday appliances like refrigerators, stoves, air conditioners, and engines. In astronomy and physics, Imam Ja'far stated that the Earth rotates on its axis and that celestial bodies are held in orbit by laws of motion and balance. He observed that the moon influences the tides, a concept we now understand through gravitational physics. These teachings have modern applications in weather forecasting, satellite communications, maritime navigation, and space exploration. But Imam Ja'far was not alone in his intellectual contributions. The tradition of the Imams consistently upheld the value of learning, observation, and reason. Imam Ali, alayhi salam, the first Imam, spoke of the Earth's spherical shape, gravity, and the order of the cosmos. He said, "The sun moves in its orbit to complete its cycle in its appointed time," reflecting an early understanding of astronomical movement. He also encouraged independent thinking, famously saying, "Do not be a slave to others when God has created you free." This spirit of inquiry is foundational to scientific progress. Imam Ali al-Ridha engaged in open debates with scholars and physicians at the court of the Abbasid caliphs. He discussed digestion, blood circulation, and the nervous system, and recommended foods that promote physical and mental health. His statements on balancing hot and cold foods and keeping the body's temperament in check resemble what modern science describes as homeostasis, the body's regulation of internal conditions. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, father of Imam Ja'far, also spoke on the natural phenomena, including plant growth, anatomy, and environmental balance. He emphasized the value of agricultural knowledge, clean air, and clean water, ideas that align with modern sustainability and environmental science. Even in their theological teachings, the Imams promoted critical thinking. They encouraged questioning and debate, not as rebellion against religion, but as a means to deepen understanding of both faith and the natural world. To fully appreciate the significance of these teachings, we must consider when they occurred. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq was teaching chemistry, biology, and physics in the 8th century, at a time when much of Europe was still in the early medieval period. The techniques of distillation, the idea of atomic structure, the stages of human development, and the study of disease transmission were being developed and taught in the Islamic world long before they reached the West. Modern chemistry in Europe didn't take shape until the 17th century, nearly 900 years later. Germ theory wasn't formalized until the 19th century, and Newton's laws of motion came almost 900 years after Imam Sadiq described celestial orbits and gravitational balance. Even the scientific method, observation, hypothesis, testing, and conclusion was promoted in principle by the Imams. They taught that knowledge must be evidence-based, ethically used, and constantly questioned. The legacy of the 12 Imams in science is not a chapter of forgotten history. It is a living tradition that united knowledge with purpose. These were not merely spiritual guides. They were teachers, thinkers, and early scientists who inspired generations to observe, reason, and reflect. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq taught that the universe is governed by natural laws created by God, and that studying these laws is a path to greater understanding of both creation and the Creator. He described the composition of matter in terms that hint at atomic theory, stated that disease could spread through contact, and emphasized hygiene, prevention, and balance, principles that remain central to modern medicine and public health. Imam Ali wrote about the Earth's rotation and gravity, and encouraged intellectual freedom and rational inquiry. Imam Ali al-Ridha debated with scholars on anatomy and digestion, while Imam Muhammad al-Baqir shared knowledge on agriculture, ecology, and the human body. By honoring their work, we reconnect with a tradition that sees no divide between the laboratory and the mosque, between empirical observation and spiritual reflection. It is a tradition that teaches us to question, to seek, to learn, and above all, to use knowledge for the benefit of all. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons.